In this next lecture, we're going to describe challenges and positive influence diversity brings to today's business environment. And when we look at diversity, and I know we've talked about that earlier in some of our earlier lectures, but it encompasses all forms of differences among individuals. And if we look at that, that can include culture, it includes gender, it includes age, ability, religion, personality, social status, sexual orientation. And again, we talked about challenges that come with that because as managers, you need to motivate a diverse work group, a work team. And you've got to communicate with your employees who have different values, also different language skills than you. So if we look at ethnic diversity, the challenge there is using differences provided by cultural diversity, and it's celebrating those instead of looking at them as a problem, and just realize that everyone is uniquely made and that we need to work with people through cultural diversity. Now there's risk with that also. Prejudices and stereotypes may prevent managers and employees from developing interactions which could benefit the organization. So a lot of times it's convincing people that they need to take risk and that they need to work with everyone in their department, and that will benefit the organization. Let's look at gender, age, and ability diversity. So when we look at gender, we know that there's a transparent barrier that prevents women from rising above a certain level in organizations. But we know that women hold 51% of all doctorates, 60% of all master's degrees, and 57% of all bachelors. But we also know that women still don't earn as much as men today. Now, we'll tell you the only thing that makes the difference is education. And then age, it positively impacts the organization's profitability. And I know I've talked about that, the growing and the graying and the growing of the boomer population in the workforce. But you have to understand, and I know the new phrase is, okay, boomer, but boomers are well educated, they're well trained, and they're still extremely valuable to the organization. And then ability. Under the Americans with Disability Act of 1992, employers must make reasonable accommodation for allowing workers with disability to perform their jobs. Now, when I talk about that, that's not anything, they're talking about reasonable accommodations. And that can be sometimes simple as just making an adjustment in the workplace, maybe a different computer screen, maybe a different chair. So if we look at the benefits and problems of diversity, the benefits, it attracts and retains the best talent. It improves your marketing efforts. It promotes creativity and innovation. It results in better problem solving, and it also enhances the organizational flexibility. Now, problems, it can lead to resistance to change, a lack of cohesiveness, communication problems because a boomer doesn't communicate as well, sometimes with the millennial, and working through those issues. And then interpersonal conflicts that can happen. And then with diversity, you're going to have slower decision making because everyone is going to have to buy in. So let's spend also a few minutes talking about ethics, the role of that, character, and personal integrity in the organization, because all of them are extremely vital. So if we look at our ethical theories that are out there, we've got consequential theory, and that emphasizes the consequences or the results of a behavior. And corporations and businesses tend to subscribe to consequential ethics. So they want to maximize the good effects for the greatest number of people or the greatest good for everyone. Rule-based theory, it emphasizes the character of the act rather than the effects. So we can use like the Bible or in a theological context that people should be treated with certain respect and dignity. It's not used as a means to the end, but we know the golden rule theory that we treat others as we would want to be treated. And then the character theory. If we look at that, it emphasizes character, personal virtues, the intent of the individual. and it's virtue ethics. It's based in Aristotle, and it emphasizes the person or the individual. So let's look at 5 issues that pose ethical dilemmas for managers. We know that technology and privacy is in there. Oh my goodness. Think about it today. There's so many issues related to this topic. Contemporary organizations are going to experience a wide variety of ethical and moral dilemmas. They're going to have it from drug tests, free speech, downsizing, layoffs, due process, so much more. And technology and privacy figures into that. Also, the confidentiality of, companies have a lot of information on their hands, and a lot of information that they've gathered. And how do we, as a company, keep that confidential to respect our people? And then let's look at sexual harassment. When we talk about sexual harassment, and I won't go into too many details because this topic is going to be covered extensively when you take HR. But it amazes me that even in today's time, we're still dealing with this in the workplace. So when we talk about sexual harassment, it's unwelcome verbal or physical sexual attention. It affects the employee's job's condition. It also creates a hostile work environment. And then the types that are out there. There's gender harassment that includes crude comments or behavior that conveys hostility toward a particular gender. Unwanted sexual attention that involves unwanted touching or repeated pressure for dates. And then sexual coercion that consists of demands for sexual favors through job-related threats or promises. That's the quid pro quo. And most people, I'll tell you, they don't report sexual harassment. Most quit. Most just move to another company. Now, we have had a insurgence of Me Too within the last year or so, and that's really affecting how people view sexual harassment. Let's talk about organizational justice, because people want organizations to be fair, and we look at distributive justice. That's fairness of the outcomes that everyone receives within an organization. Procedural justice, that's the fairness of the process which the outcomes are allocated within the organization. And looking at the individual and organizational responsibility. The whistleblower, and we've heard a lot of that in the news in the last year or so, but that's the employee who notifies authorities about the misconduct of his or her firm or coworkers. And again, there has been a lot of emphasis on that recently, and whistleblowers are protected by law. And social responsibility, of course, we can't forget that. That's the organization's duty to behave ethically in a social environment. They protect the environment. They promote worker safety. They support social issues. And then again, they invest in the community. And social responsibility in the last few years has also become a hot topic. And we're actually seeing entire courses developed on corporate and social responsibility. Okay, this finishes up our lectures for this week. I hope you guys have enjoyed them, and there is a discussion that you need to participate at the end of the course. There's also videos for you to watch, but I hope you enjoy it, and this wraps up week 1's lectures.